Hello there, I'm Jan, and I welcome you to a world where stories create dreams to a peaceful sleep. Tonight, imagine stepping into a world where dreams blend with reality. Picture a grand estate, bathed in the soft glow of twilight, with a royal carriage gliding gracefully along a cobblestone path. The air is filled with the scent of blooming roses and the gentle hum of anticipation. As you settle into a plush cushion, the soft rustle of silk and the sparkle of magical lights surround you. Get ready to enter a world where a kind-hearted girl's life is transformed by a touch of magic and a sprinkle of fairy dust. Experience the wonder of a grand ball, the transformation of a simple pumpkin, and the timeless magic of love and kindness. Let the retelling story of Cinderella sweep you away into a realm where wishes come true and hearts find their happily ever after. Once upon a time, in a land far away, there lived a wealthy merchant and his beloved wife. They were blessed with a beautiful little girl, their pride and joy. And their home was filled with love and laughter. For many years, they lived happily together, and the girl grew up in a warm and nurturing environment, surrounded by her parents' affection. However, as time passed, the mother fell gravely ill. The once vibrant and joyful woman became weak, and it was clear that she would not recover. As her strength faded, she called her daughter to her bedside. Her voice tender but filled with sorrow. "My dear child," she began, "I must leave you soon. But do not despair, for even though I will be gone, I will always watch over you from heaven. Plant a little tree on my grave, and whenever you are in need or wish for something, shake the tree, and I will help you. Above all, remember to stay good and pure, no matter what happens." With those words, the mother closed her eyes and peacefully passed away. The little girl was heartbroken, and she wept for days, unable to comprehend life without her mother. True to her mother's wish, she planted a small tree on the grave, and her tears watered it, nurturing the young sapling as it grew. Winter came, and the snow covered her mother's grave like a soft, white blanket. Yet, when spring returned, the sun melted the snow, and the little tree grew strong and green. By the time another year had passed, the tree had grown tall and sturdy, its branches reaching out as if to embrace the girl whenever she visited. But as the seasons changed, so did her life. Her father, believing that his daughter needed a motherly figure in her life, remarried. His new wife was a beautiful woman, but she had a cold and cruel heart. She brought with her 2 daughters from her previous marriage, both of whom were as beautiful as their mother, but just as unkind. The girl's life, once filled with love, became a nightmare. Her new stepmother was jealous of her beauty and the affection her father had for her. "What is this wretched thing doing in our home?" the stepmother sneered upon her arrival. "She is no better than a servant. From now on, you will live in the kitchen and earn your keep." From that day on, the girl's life was filled with endless chores. She was forced to rise before dawn, fetch water, light the fires, cook, clean, and do any other task the stepmother and her daughters could think of. Her beautiful clothes were taken away, replaced with a tattered grey smock. Covered in dust and ashes from her constant work, the stepsisters mockingly named her Cinderella. Despite her hard life, Cinderella remained kind and gentle, always remembering her mother's words. Whenever she felt overwhelmed, she would visit her mother's grave, shake the little tree, and find comfort in the thought that her mother was still watching over her. One day, a grand announcement was made throughout the kingdom. The king had decided to host a magnificent ball that would last 3 days. During this ball, the prince was to choose a bride. The excitement in the household was palpable, especially for the 2 stepsisters, who immediately began preparing their finest gowns and accessories. "Cinderella," they called out, their voices sharp and demanding. "Come here at once. Comb our hair, polish our shoes, and help us dress for the ball. We are going to meet the prince." Cinderella did as she was told, brushing their hair, tying their laces, and ensuring that every detail was perfect. As they were about to leave, Cinderella mustered the courage to ask, "Could I also go to the ball?" The stepsisters burst into laughter. "You go to the ball?" the elder sister mocked. "You belong in the kitchen, not at a royal ball." The The sisters left, their mocking laughter echoing in Cinderella's ears. Left alone, she felt a wave of sadness wash over her. She wandered into the kitchen, where a large pile of lentils awaited her. One more cruel task assigned by her stepsisters. If only my mother knew how they treat me, she whispered, wiping away a tear. As she knelt before the hearth to begin sorting the lentils, something miraculous happened. 2 white pigeons flew in through the open window and landed beside her. They nodded their little heads and cooed, "Cinderella, would you like us to help you sort the lentils?" Cinderella, astonished, replied, "Yes, please." "The good ones for the little pot, the bad ones for your little crop," the pigeons sang. With quick pecks and fluttering wings, they sorted the lentils with astonishing speed, leaving only the good ones in the pot. Cinderella was amazed and grateful. "Thank you so much," she said softly, her heart a little lighter. "If you wish to see your sisters at the ball, climb up to the pigeon coop," the pigeons suggested before flying away. Curious, Cinderella did as they said, climbing to the top of the ladder. From there, she could see the grand ballroom, with chandeliers sparkling like stars. She watched as her stepsisters danced with the prince, their gowns swirling elegantly as they moved. The sight filled her with both awe and sorrow, for though she could see the splendor, she knew she would never be a part of it. With a heavy heart, she climbed down the ladder and returned to her bed of ashes, where she fell into a restless sleep. The next morning, her stepsisters returned, full of tales from the ball. "Oh, Cinderella, you missed such a grand event," they teased. "The prince danced with us all night. Surely one of us will be his bride." "Yes," Cinderella replied softly. "I saw the chandeliers glimmering. It must have been beautiful." Her sisters paused, their eyes narrowing. "How did you see that?" the elder asked suspiciously. "I climbed to the pigeon coop and watched from there," Cinderella admitted. Furious with jealousy, the eldest sister immediately ordered the pigeon coop to be torn down. "There's no place for you to spy on us anymore," she snapped. That evening, the preparations for the second night of the ball began. Once again, Cinderella was tasked with helping her stepsisters get ready. As they left, they gave her another sack of lentils to sort. "And remember, they must all be sorted by the time we return, or you will go without supper," they warned. Cinderella sighed as she sat before the hearth, staring at the large pile of lentils. Once again, the two white pigeons appeared and offered their help. The good ones for the little pot, the bad ones for your little crop. They cooed, sorting the lentils in no time at all. Cinderella, they said once they had finished, if you wish to go to the ball, go to the little tree on your mother's grave and shake it. You will find what you need. Hope sparkled in Cinderella's heart. She hurried to her mother's grave and shook the tree gently. Shake and wobble, little tree. Let beautiful clothes fall down to me, she whispered. As if by magic, a splendid dress, shimmering with the colors of the dawn, appeared before her. Beside it lay delicate silk stockings, a pair of silver slippers, and all the accessories fit for a princess. Cinderella dressed quickly, her heart racing with excitement. When she stepped outside, a magnificent pumpkin carriage awaited her, drawn by 6 black horses, adorned with feathers. The servants, dressed in blue and silver, helped her inside, and off they went to the king's castle. When the carriage arrived at the castle gates, the prince himself came down the stairs to greet her. He was struck by her beauty and grace. Believing her to be a princess from a faraway land, he took her hand and led her into the ballroom, where all eyes turned to her in admiration. The prince could not take his eyes off her and danced with her the entire night. Cinderella was lost in the joy of the evening, but as the clock began to approach midnight, she remembered the pigeon's warning. Reluctantly, she bid the prince farewell and hurried out of the castle. Despite his pleas for her to stay, she knew she had to leave before her transformation ended. She climbed into the carriage, which whisked her away just as the clock struck 12. Back home, Cinderella returned to the little tree. Shake and wobble, little tree. Take these clothes back from me, she whispered. The tree took the beautiful gown, and she was once again dressed in her simple grey smock. She returned to the kitchen, sprinkled some ashes on her face, and lay down to sleep. The next morning, her stepsisters were in a foul mood. The ball was ruined, they complained. That strange princess came again, and the prince danced with her all night. He wouldn't even look at anyone else. Cinderella listened quietly, but inside she was filled with memories of the magical evening. She longed to return to the ball, if only for one more night. On the third and final night of the ball, the stepsisters once again prepared to go. Cinderella helped them dress, all the while dreaming of the prince and the splendid ballroom. As soon as they left, she ran to her mother's grave and shook the tree. "Shake and wobble, little tree. Let beautiful clothes fall down to me," she whispered. This time, the tree gave her a gown that was even more magnificent than the previous ones. It was made of gold and silver threads, sparkling like the stars. A pair of golden slippers completed the ensemble. The magical pumpkin carriage appeared once again, and Cinderella, her heart filled with excitement, rode to the castle. The prince was waiting for her at the gates, his eyes lighting up with joy when he saw her. "You have returned," he said, taking her hand. "Dance with me once more." They danced together, lost in each other's eyes. The prince was determined to find out who she was, but Cinderella, mindful of the midnight hour, remained elusive. As the clock struck midnight, she fled the ballroom, the prince chasing after her. In her haste, she left behind one of her golden slippers. The next day, the prince declared that he would marry the girl whose foot fit the golden slipper. He sent out his heralds to search the kingdom, trying the slipper on every maiden. The stepsisters were eager to try it on, each hoping to become the prince's bride. When the heralds arrived at Cinderella's home, the stepmother made sure her daughters tried the slipper first. The elder stepsister squeezed her foot into the slipper, but it was too tight. "Cut off your toes," her mother whispered. "When you are queen, you won't need to walk." The stepsister did as she was told, and although the slipper fit, the prince noticed blood dripping from it and refused to believe she was the one. The second stepsister tried next. She managed to fit her foot into the slipper by cutting off her heel. But again, the prince saw the blood and knew she was not the girl he sought. Finally, Cinderella was brought forward. Despite the protests of her stepmother and stepsisters, the herald insisted she try the slipper. To everyone's amazement, the golden slipper fit perfectly. The prince recognized her as the beautiful maiden from the ball and declared her his bride. Cinderella's stepmother and stepsisters were speechless. Their cruelty had been exposed, and their plans thwarted. The prince took Cinderella to the palace, where they were married in a grand ceremony. The little tree on her mother's grave blossomed with flowers, and Cinderella's life was filled with happiness and love. True to her mother's words, she remained good and pure, and she and the prince lived happily ever after. And so, my dear friend, Cinderella's enchanting journey reminds us that magic can change our lives in unexpected ways. As you drift off to sleep, let the fairy tale magic fill your dreams with hope and wonder. Thank you for joining in this magical story. Until next time, this is Jan's Sleep Stories, wishing you a night full of sweet dreams and fairy tale moments. Good night.